Alright, let's roll with this. Welcome to the party, guys. I know. Papa Jack's a little bit late today, but it's okay. It's okay. There's, I don't know if it's a good reason, but there are reasons for it. And fuck it. Chugs with chaps, baby. Oh, it does feel better though. Already feels better. Alright. Let's give it a couple more seconds for people to get in here. And we can get started on tonight's lesson. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and cut that one. And let's begin. So, first of all, welcome everybody to Live with Jack number 102. Today, we are back on YouTube, even though the last 2 weeks we've been on Rumble. We had a good reason the first week. The second week was basically still an experiment. Didn't really work so well, so fuck it. We're back here. Hey, welcome home. But if you would like to enjoy today's lesson almost as much as I am, all you need to do, which is, let me tell you, it's an astronomical amount. This is a transcendental experience to be in the studio live with Papa Jack today. Everybody loves it. It's just the best place in the world to be. And if you would also like to be in the very best place in the world, all you need to do is grab your glass, your mug, your flask, a chalice, a stein, or even a cask. Raise it high and let's make a splash. It's time now for our libation bash. Toast the night and enjoy the mood. Together now, we drink some booze. On your mark, let's not wait. It's cheers with chaps, so don't be late. Cheers! Did you know that media players will automatically just reset their volume to whatever the fuck they feel like every single time? It doesn't hold consistent after you close it and then reopen it. And it doesn't go back to the same amount every single time either. It's just completely arbitrary and random because technology works wonderfully. All right, my rant about technology is over because that's not what you're here for. Let's be entirely honest. What you're here for is you're here because you want to learn about how to create a great relationship. And that's what I'm going to teach you today is I'm going to go through a blueprint of a great relationship with you. But most importantly, we're talking about creating it from the start. So these are the things that you need to focus on at the beginning of a relationship in order to make sure that it starts well and then continues well. And then even if it doesn't, well, we have that contingency built in as well. So let's go ahead and jump straight into today's lesson. The first thing that we need to talk about is we need to talk about engineering the right expectations. This is going to be critical in any kind of relationship. Whenever you're first getting started, especially, this is super important, is you want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. There's nothing worse than being in kind of a situationship where maybe one of you wants more and the other one does not. However that works out, or maybe one of you wants something really serious and the other's like, no, I think I'm just gonna keep on doing the other things too. Whatever it is, you need to have some expectations and boundaries set early on. So whichever side of this you find yourself on, it's very rare that two people, especially at the very beginning of a relationship, actually want exactly the same thing. That's usually because one person likes the other one more, and there's sexual market reasons for this, right? Because in almost any relationship, one person feels like they're getting the better deal in the relationship. Whether that's you or that's her really depends on the situation. But that's why it's important to set your expectations and your boundaries very clearly. Because that is not necessarily a deal breaker in and of itself. especially early on when the two of you are still getting used to each other. It's common for somebody with a lot of relationship experience to want to kind of slow things down and like, let's see how things go, let's kind of feel it out. But somebody else who doesn't have much experience with relationships say, hey, what could go wrong? Let's just jump in head first. And so there's going to be a little bit of push and pull on that at the beginning of a relationship. You want to set your expectations very clearly and your boundaries. And we went over this a few weeks ago whenever we went deeper into expectations and being more decisive and being more assertive. But this is still a very important part. And one of the things that we talked about a few weeks ago when we went into it was about setting your intent, being very intentional in what it is that you're doing, understanding what you want, why you want it, how you plan to get there. And the only person who can do that is you. Because every single person has to have this self-talk where they decide what it is that they're looking for, what it is that they want from any given situation, and how they plan on achieving it, right? So you need to understand what that is for you in any given relationship. And it might be different. You probably want something different from the fat chick at the bar at 3 a.m. than you want from the good church girl who looks like she would be a great wife and mother, right? So in that situation, in that kind of stark contrast, it might seem very clear the difference. But when you're actually on the ground or out in the field, it can get a little bit muddier. And then that's 10 times muddier if you're trying to figure it out in front of them. So the worst thing possible is for a girl to say, so what are we? What is this? And you don't already know. I know that that's the worst thing because I've been in that situation before. And then you start kind of talking out your ass and you're like, oh, well, you know, it's the thing with the, we're vibing, right? Not a good situation to be in because either one, your indecisiveness is going to scare her off. That's not ideal. Or two, you're going to start over-promising things that you actually don't want to agree with, but you're saying things because you don't want to scare her off. You don't want to lose the situation you have, and you feel kind of trapped. Now, the only reason you would feel trapped is because you did not have that self-talk before. You don't have a clear idea in your mind, a clear picture in your head about what it is that you want, how you want to get there, and what kind of relationship it is that you're trying to build with her. So you need to make sure that you are aware of yourself, of your own goals, your own intent, what it is that you're trying to do, and how you're trying to do that. How does she fit into this picture? Or does she? Because if she doesn't fit into the picture of getting you where you want to go, then great, that's a good thing to know now, so that you don't waste any of your time, your resources, your mental energy, your emotional energy on her or on a relationship that isn't getting you towards your actual end goal. So be very clear about what it is that you want and what you're trying to build with yourself, but also be very intentional and clear with her too. Now, you don't have to tell her everything. You don't have to give away all the secrets or anything. I get that. There are, some kind of gray areas in there. Maybe we can go a little bit deeper in that during the Q&A section, but you do need to make your intent clear. Now, the next thing that you need to consider is, and this is especially for the younger guys out there, understand the difference between the ideal and the real. You've been raised on Disney movies and romantic comedies and Kevin James sitcoms and shit like that. And it's not real, man. It's not real. And you know that intellectually. You know that. But you still have some kind of expectations because you've been lied to. You've been indoctrinated your whole life. It's not your fault, but it is the situation. Is that what you've come to expect or to think that a relationship is not reality. So you need to start separating out what is ideal and what is real. Now, one of the best ways to do this is Again, a little while back, we talked about priorities and understanding your priorities. And one of the best ways to actually separate the ideal from the real is to think through your priorities. So if you have some things, maybe you have a list of, I want a girl to have these 10 qualities or do these 10 things or be a Little Mermaid and an actual Disney princess or whatever it is that you have in your head. And then you need to actually start placing these in a priority order of, okay, I would accept a girl who doesn't have this, but, you know, she's got like some kind of tendencies towards it, or like she shows a little bit of this. So this one's not actually that important to me, but this one is super important. Okay, cool. That one's a high priority. Whenever you start figuring out what your actual priorities are, what matters the most to you in a relationship, in a girl, in a girlfriend, in a partner, in a hookup, in whatever kind of relationship it is you're trying to build, because remember, at the very beginning, you figured that out, then you need to figure out what your priorities are in there. Whatever is the most important to you is the thing that you are unwilling to compromise on. So, for me, listen, I cannot deal with girls who get angry easily, who just like freak out and they start yelling and throwing things, stuff like that. Violence is absolutely out. It's a deal breaker 100% for me. I don't want to deal with that shit. And it brings out the worst part of me too. So I don't want to be anywhere near it. To me, that's an absolute deal breaker. So that means somebody who is even-tempered, but it also means somebody who doesn't get angry easily, right? So both of those things, even-tempered and patient. Those are my two top priorities in finding a girl. Now, for those of you who have met Lady North, you know that she is, without a question, those two things. If nothing else, she is absolutely even-tempered and patient as a saint. So, you can see that my priorities came through in the type of girl that I was trying to meet and the one that I actually pursued for a serious long-term relationship. Understand your priorities, because those are going to make a big difference to you. And then some of the other things, maybe the ideal things, right? Maybe those can kind of slip away a little bit. And you'll be able to figure out what's more important and what's less important as you get out into the dating market and as you go on some dates and have a couple of relationships. Then you'll understand a little bit better about like, oh, right, this stuff that I saw on TV or this stuff that I saw in movies, none of that was real. Okay, cool. So once you understand the difference between the ideal and the real and you set your priorities, it makes it a lot easier to find the right person and to then actually begin a relationship with them.